thanks for tuning in today. We're here in Tallahassee interviewing some Florida State fans on their thoughts of the college football playoffs.
I think that this season's playoffs is a load of fluff and hooey. I mean, how does the best team in the whole world, Florida State University, not make it to the playoffs, but a nobody team like Alabama makes it to the playoffs? I don't even know. To be honest with you, I hate it.
Whoa. Well, thanks for telling us how you feel. And back to the hosts.
Thanks, Blake. In other news, we continue to see the ongoing conflict involving Palestine and Israel worsen. Since October 7th, over 1,200 have been killed due to the Hamas attacks on Israel. Since Hamas began their attacks on Israel, countries including the United States and the European allies have shown their support for Israel. This war has resulted in the killing of many innocent civilians. Hamas's motivations behind the attack has resulted from a buildup of anger that has a deep history behind it. Tune into our Minute to Relive It history segment after this break.
Do you see your fellow classmates getting into nefarious actions in the bathrooms at your local high school? Please take action now. If you see something, say something.
What are you doing?
And alert your local trusted adult about drug use in the bathrooms.
Stop drug use.
Thanks for tuning in to Minute to Relive It. My name is Gardolinski, and this is Arjun Shah. Today's segment is focused on the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
We begin way back in 1948, when 5 Arab nations invaded the territory of former Palestine that were at the time split between Israel and Palestine. This is known as the Arab-Israeli War of 1948. This war resulted in Israel gaining territory that was formerly granted to the Palestinian Arabs under the United Nations in 1947.
Two neutral countries at the time, Jordan and Egypt, retained their control over both the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Things stayed this way until 1956. However, when Israel invaded Egypt in order to gain use of the Strait of Tiran, which succeeded and resulted in the deployment of the United Nations Emergency Force, which assisted in Israel maintaining the use of the area until 1967.
In May of 1967, conflicts around the Strait of Tiran began to increase between Egypt and Israel, as Egypt announced the closure of the Strait of Tiran to Israel. In the following weeks, on June 5th, Israel began an offensive for the Sinai Peninsula, the section of Egypt bordering Israel, which resulted in Israel receiving control of the Sinai Peninsula. They maintained this control until 1982, when the peace treaty between Egypt and Israel, signed in 1979, went under effect as a result of the Camp David Accords.
Palestinian uprisings against Israel had spiked in 1987, known as the First Intifada, where an Israeli vehicle crashed into a car containing 3 Palestinians. This resulted in a lot of civil unrest from the Palestinians, which then followed by the deployment of Israeli soldiers. More conflicts in this region include when Iraq sent Scud missiles into Israel during the Gulf War. Other events in 1994 include a Jewish gunman killing 29 Palestinian worshippers in Hebron in February. In April, several suicide bombings occurred in Israel from the Palestinians. Attempts at a peace treaty between Israel and Palestine include the Camp David Accords of 2000, which did not amount to a formal agreement between the two nations. Thanks, y'all. Back to Arjun and Eric.
All of this has taken us to modern day. Israel and Hamas agreed to a 7-day truce that was broken on Friday, December 1st, after they claimed Hamas broke the outline of this truce. This was broken by firing rockets towards Israeli territory. Israel also expanded its operations to the southern part of the enclave, prompting calls from global leaders to protect civilians. Now, we cut to journalist Simon Williams, live in Israel, to give us live updates about the conflict.
So Simon, tell us your experience in Israel.
In recent months, we've seen an escalation in tensions. Rocket attacks from Gaza into Israeli territory and retaliatory strikes by the Israeli military have become a distressing pattern, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and heightening fears of a wider conflict. The international community remains divided on the issue. While many countries support a two-state solution, the path to achieving this remains fraught with challenges. The United Nations and other various international bodies have repeatedly called for an end to the violence and the resumption of peace talks. On the ground, the impact of the conflict is profound and heartbreaking. Civilians on both sides live in constant fear and uncertainty. The humanitarian solution, particularly in Gaza, is dire, with limited access to essential services and a struggling economy. As we stand here today, the path to peace remains elusive. The complexity of this conflict, with its deep historical roots and modern-day geographical implications, continues to challenge the efforts towards a sustainable resolution. From Ashkelon, Israeli, this is Simon Williams reporting, and thanks for tuning in.
The 2023 Hamas-Israel conflict regarding the Palestine-Israel border conflict has been one of the most protested conflicts in history. In the past 2 months, over 15,000 Palestinians have died, sparking civil unrest in American cities. America continues to provide aid and support to Israel, along with many European nations.
Hamas and Israel are continuing to fight today, and Hamas does not want to stop until they succeed in the creation of an Islamic Palestinian state in Israel's place. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of BSSE News Network, featuring Arjun, Shah, Blake Thomas, and Eric Gardolinski. Signing off, Simon Williams.